Welcome to Confessions of a Terrible Leader, where real leaders share the raw truth about the lessons they learned the hard way so you don't have to. Join our host, Layci Nelson, founder of Transcend Leadership Collective and former terrible leader. On this podcast, we invite you to step into the confessional and get real with the messy stories and behind-the-scenes reality of leadership. Let's get to it.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to Confessions of a Terrible Leader. I'm your host, and let us never forget, former terrible leader, Layci Nelson. I am here today with Mitchell Levy, who is a global credibility expert, quite accomplished, a lot of experience in different organizations, different corporations, all across, I believe, the globe, if I read that correctly. Mitchell, welcome to the show.
Layci, it's great to be here. Nice to actually meet you and engage, so that's awesome.
Yes. Thank you so much for making the time to be here today. I, of course, come armed with all of the questions. I'm so fascinated with the title of what you do. For my sake and our listeners' sake, what does it mean to even be a credibility expert? How does one become a credibility expert? If I'm a listener, how do I know, oh, this guy's going to be talking about stuff I need to know today? This is relevant for me.
We'll dive a little bit more into the concept of credibility, but let's just say, for me personally, at a particular aspect of life, I took my own Napoleon Hill journey. Napoleon Hill interviewed 500 millionaires and wrote Think and Grow Rich. Mitchell Levy, in the years between 2019 and 2020, interviewed 500 thought leaders on credibility, and I unlocked a ton of secrets.
But let's make them not so secret. I can't wait.
Absolutely.
When you say credibility, I'm imagining it's much like a word like respect, where we all have a different fundamental understanding. We have a general concept, but what does it really mean? What does credibility mean in Mitchell Levy's world?
A very nice question. And I've been on probably close to 1,000 podcasts, and I don't think anyone's actually asked the question that way. So thank you.
Yeah.
Credibility, the way it was defined in the dictionary before I did the research, which really is what got me doing it, said it's the quality in which one is trusted. Now, that might have been true in the old days, the wild, wild west. You're riding a horse, the shoe comes off your horse, you pull into the saloon and you say, okay, there happens to be 2 places to get my horse reshoed. Who do I go to? That's trust, the quality in which one is trusted.
Right.
However, in today's world with the internet, we get to see almost anyone we want to. And so out of the research came 2 additional ways to think about credibility.
Okay.
And we know the phrase know, like, and trust, but it's not in that order. Credibility is the quality in which we're trusted, known, and liked. Then underneath each of those, there are 10 values. But yeah, you start with trust. Then as you get to know somebody, are they connected that way? Is what they say and who they are complete? And then how does it feel? Do you like them? Is that somebody you want to hang around?
My gosh, I have so many questions. Okay, so know, like, and trust is a phrase I've heard for my entire career. Flipping it on its head, trust, known, liked. With the trust coming first, how does trust come first without relational capital?
Even though it's a very simple question, that's a really huge question. So it depends where it comes from.
Right.
If you and I get to know each other in a way that we really trust, know, and like each other, we're both credible. If you said to me, Mitchell, I enjoyed our conversation, I need to recommend somebody else, you're passing me your trust. Right? So referral partnerships, the word of mouth marketing with referral partners is a great way to pass trust.
Okay.
Now, let's say I randomly fall on your LinkedIn profile. How do I actually get trust? Well, you had somewhere before, if I jumped on if you're a listener, just think I fall on your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
You've got 3 to 5 seconds for me to build trust.
Yeah.
So what am I looking at? I'm looking at your picture. Is it a good picture? I'm looking at the background that you have at the top of the screen. I'm looking at how you describe yourself. If you build trust, what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to get to know you a little bit better. Now, I'm going to give you something people don't really think about, but this is what I do next. I go to the bottom of the LinkedIn profile where I look for social proof. I'm looking for, if you say you do X, there are things which are both endorsements and recommendations. I look at the endorsements and I see, hey, do these endorsements for the 2 things that LinkedIn shows, is that in line with what the person says they do?
Right.
And do they have 15 recommendations, at least 15? And have they given 15? And if I really wanted to get to know you, I'm going to read a couple of those because
I
that's how
gotta
you
go
get
work
to
on my
see.
profile. I'm getting nervous. Okay.
And then the last thing is if I go in the middle of the profile and look at the role you have, I want to see a couple of video testimonials because a best way, this is where it gets really interesting. So first thing you do, immediate trust. As I get to know you and I start reading your recommendations, you're building upon the like based on the words that those people who give you recommendations based on their words. And then if I see it in video and feel their energy, then you've actually built the know, like, trust.
Got it. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Or sorry, the trust, know, like.
Yes. Yes.
See, it's so easy to get that wrong. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for breaking that down for me. I think a lot of people that we work with and organizations that I work with, you work with, they probably think they're pretty dang credible, or at least they really, really hope that they are. And sometimes there's even credibility markers infused into their core values. How does an organization have a true, and I want to take it big and then go small. So I'm probably asking a huge question again. What's a good litmus test for them to know, do we just think we're credible? Is our intention, is our hope for perception actually in alignment with what the reality is?
When you ask me that question, are we asking the question regarding, let's say, the executives, the C-suite? Are we asking the individual executive questions or are we asking the corporation question?
Both. I want to go big and then go small. So corporation and then executive.
There are 5 stakeholder groups that every corporation needs to sort of think about. And let's take it from the perspective of the CEO so we can at least be grounded with an individual, right? So
thank you.
Investors, employees, customers, partners, and their own personal family. When you're thinking about it from that CEO perspective, to me, there's a word I love using, just started coming up with it because it really represents where my executive coaching practice is located. And the phrase that I'm using is executive abundance. So is the CEO bringing executive abundance? Are all of those stakeholder groups in abundance? And each one of those groups can be measured by, if it's employees, employee engagement. It has to be anonymous surveys inside the company. And America overall is horrible on employee engagement. If you're looking at customers, it's NPS scores. So what is the net promoter scores? Looking at partners, how often, in terms of other forms of getting leads in the door, how often are your partners referring you? And how does that look in compared to average? And then this is not as easy to know, and there's always laws around it, but how many of you people are getting divorced and are not happy in their family life, right? Investors are the easiest. And unfortunately, or fortunately, because they're in business, but that's the group. I sat on the board of a NASDAQ firm for 9 years. That is the stakeholder group that most companies spend the most amount of energy on, and everyone else falls aside. So
90%.
corporate-wise, 5
is that
stakeholder
accurate? 90%? Sorry, I cut you off. I got so excited.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's right.
I would say like 80 to 90% of the energy and focus typically goes on that investor group.
Yes.
Is that accurate? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, spot on.
What is a more healthy, helpful percentage split for where focus should go?
So I don't know if I can answer that question yet.
Okay.
I don't know if I can answer that question. I'm in the middle getting a PhD, and that's the dissertation I'm writing. And it's not because I know and I can't say. By the way, if I was far enough along and I know and I couldn't say, I would say that.
Yes.
But I truly believe it's because I still have so much more research to do to be able to wrap my arms around it. Most likely, I would say it's not even across the bar. Actually, it's a good question. I may or may not need to come up with a measurement of how do you measure each stakeholder group and how do you put it together as a whole. Maybe that's an outcome of what I do. We'll figure that out.
Okay. I appreciate that honest answer. Thank you. What is a good marker for okay, now let's take it in smaller. I'm a CEO. I'm an executive team. What is a good litmus test for if I'm credible? Where do I even start? Am I credible with my people at an individual level? How do you dig into that?
Yeah. That's a great question. And it'll shock most leaders, particularly leaders that were brought up on a command and control approach. Now, there are places where you need command and control.
Absolutely.
If you're in a military engagement and those people around you, their life depends on you doing exactly what you say, the integrity piece.
Yes.
Really important.
Yes.
But when you're not in that sort of scenario, the question becomes, is the leader leading because of authority? It's because of their title. Whereas the leader leading because of who they are, and people will follow them to the phrase you hear, to the ends of the earth.
Right.
The best measure on that, if a leader really wants to do it and really wants to know, would be a 360. And as much as I like doing it in a survey form that's anonymous, I believe it has to be done by someone that the firm trusts that's actually doing it in actual interviews directly. Because I have clients who said, hey, I got a 360 and I know my boss is one of those people that will figure out who answered what, who said what. And my writing style is particular. And if I answer this question, they'd be getting 1s and 2s on a scale to 10.
Yeah.
They will definitely try to figure me out and get rid of me. So I think the absolute best way, not always easy, is finding somebody who's intuitive and who can actually do a 360 up and down in the Marshall Goldsmith world to be able to get enough information to give good feed forward to the executive themselves.
Right, right. In your experience, what are the hallmarks of responses from leaders that you're like, okay, we're going to gain some ground. They're ready for this when they hear their 360 results. And on the flip side, what are the responses when you're like, I don't know if they're actually ready to go through the coaching process, that like, I don't know if it's going to be effective for them yet. Because sometimes they're not ready. They think they're ready, but they're not.
Absolutely. Should I tell you a 2-minute story or just
Please?
answer your
No.
question?
Tell me the story. We have time.
All right. So during these interviews, and I hadn't yet figured out it was trust, no like.
Yeah.
But I had unraveled 9 values of credibility. And I had this National Speaker Association, $30,000 a speech person coming to speak. And he taught me, he didn't know he taught me this, but he taught me the 10th value. And so what happened when I was doing the interviews is I would send, there were half-hour interviews all done on Tuesday and Wednesdays. I basically did somewhere between 10 to 12 or 10 to 14 every Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon. By the way, I really learned how to do a better job of engaging when you're using Zoom as a vehicle.
Yeah.
And I would send somebody, I'd send them a 16-minute video. Here are the 5 questions. The first question had to do with clarity, and I would give away the formula for how to actually say who you are and how you show up in the world.
Yeah.
Essentially the frequency of who you are as a human in less than 10 words. So here is this really big speaker who gets lots of money for what they do. And as I imagined, but I didn't want to pre-guess, he didn't watch the video.
Yeah. Shocking.
Because
Not
he
shocking.
was too good to learn anything.
Yep.
And I said, what I would say, we could dive into it or not, it's called a CPOP. Your customer point of possibilities is your clarity statement. It is, if you're a credible human, you are service to others. So who do you serve and what is their pain point or pleasure point? And it is less than 10 words who you are that way. So I'd say, what is your CPOP? And I'd let people come in. I'd bring them to the green room. I'd ask them the 5 questions. And he said his 30-second elevator pitch. Now that's, a CPOP, 9 words or less is 1 to 3 seconds.
Yeah.
He actually said 30 seconds. And so I said, well, what most people do, because I realized he hadn't watched the video, most people do is they just talk about in 1, 2, or 3 words who they serve, who is the audience you serve. Also in 1, 2, or 3 words, either what is their primary pain point or what is their pleasure point. By the way, Layci, that's the secret formula of the CPOP. Very simple.
Yeah.
Simple. It's not easy, apparently.
It's not easy. No.
98% of the people are interviewed, even though they had the secret formula, could not actually make that happen. Then he gave me something that was about 15. He cut it in half. He did a great job for him. He cut it in half.
Yeah.
And then I said something that unearthed the 10th value, which is exactly the question you just asked me. I said, would you mind if I do a little bit of coaching? You're on a podcast. You're running a podcast. I podcast live. So when I did this, I'd go live. And I ultimately went through 500 people. I've now done this many other times as well. And he said something that just blew me away. His response was, yes, I do. I have my way of doing things and you have yours and I don't want to learn yours. Now, as an alpha male, the first words that came to my head were not words that you really want to utter when you're talking to some other human. Right?
You had some self-regulation skills, so you kept that inside. But yeah.
I ended up having one of the best leadership techniques, speaking techniques in the world is the pause. Dead air is an absolute thing for somebody to go, I got to fill the silence. So fortunately, he filled the silence and he said, I'm not sure this is going to work between you and I. My response was, yep, I don't think so either. Best of luck with everything you do. So I woke up the next morning, I go, coachability. That's the 10th value. So under being trusting, vulnerability, you asked me a question. I didn't do it on purpose. Mitchell, how do you measure that? I don't know.
Right.
I'm an expert. I don't
know.
know. Vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
Vulnerability, external integrity. Let me come back to that.
Okay.
Authenticity and coachability are the 4 values associated with trust. And I got a gift. It wasn't the gift he thought he was giving me. He thought he was giving me the gift of him.
Right.
He actually did, but in a way that he didn't expect.
Yeah. That's powerful. That is a powerful story. Go ahead.
So to tie in with your question, if an executive is not coachable, it is not worth starting the engagement in the first place.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, speaking of 2 people that work with executives, and it's also smart to just, for us to not engage them because we're not going to build credibility by working with people who are not coachable.
Can I add to that for a second?
Please do.
Let's say, Layci, it was somebody random, you could just say you're not a good fit.
Yeah.
But let's say on the other hand, private equity firm recommended that you work with this person.
Yep.
Before you report back to the private equity firm, you need to explain what the concept of feed forward is. Feedback is things that you say that are negative that may or may not have an ability to focus on. And what Marshall Goldman says is feed forward is what could you share with somebody that they can act on?
Right.
So if I'm with that CEO and I say, hey, listen, I got to report back to the private equity firm and I want to tell you what I'm going to say. Is that okay? Because you're probably not going to like it. And I always start there because they're expecting the worst, right?
Right.
And I go, in my profession, in the experience I've had with the number of people I've coached, I can tell you there's one value of credibility. I'll tell them the story about the speaker. And then I go, based on this conversation, from what I could see, you're not coachable. And, you've been successful so far and maybe you'll continue to be successful. What I can tell you though, is if you're going to continue to be this way, I can't be successful. And I want to make sure that my reputation, my credibility is still intact with my friend at so-and-so who recommended me.
Right.
And so if you want to think about it, great, depending on how they respond and they go, well, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. And then that next conversation, it'll be a very transparent conversation. If you're listening to this, you don't really say that, Mitchell. And the answer is when you're in a private room and you create a container of trust, when the person who's speaking, and even if they're giving feed forward and the feed forward is not positive, the person on the other side, they're recognizing that I'm not doing it to be malicious. I'm not doing it to be negative in any way. I'm doing it because this is the observation I have. And this is what is getting in the way of them getting to whatever's next for them.
Right.
A coach cannot fix somebody else.
No.
All a coach can do is guide.
Right.
And the person themselves needs to do whatever it is that's appropriate. And so if they're not coachable, they won't fix themselves. I can't be successful.
Right. Right. I like to often use the phrase, I cannot and will not work harder than you do. So.
Well, that's a good one. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
May give you attribution the first couple times I use that.
Okay. Yeah. And people wondering, gosh, do they really talk that candidly? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We are that direct. And I also often use the phrase, I remind them, you are paying me to tell you things that you don't want to necessarily hear and that nobody else will. It's not going to make you comfortable. I'm like, the whole thing's not going to be a torture session. But if you are not willing to get uncomfortable, this probably isn't the engagement for either of us.
And once again, you go back to the vulnerability or the coachability. Can I talk about integrity for a second?
Please do. Yes.
There were 2 major aha moments that I didn't actually understand until a year after I finished the results. And when I first did the results, I published them, Know, Like, Trust. And then as I was speaking about it and I was talking on stage, I would show my slides, Know, Like, Trust. And I go, yeah, I know it's this way, but even though trust is at the end, that comes first. And about a year later, I go, yeah, that and one other thing. The word or value of integrity was listed twice. I did not know why, but of the 10 values, integrity was the only one that was listed twice. So I just put it in there. And so I already mentioned under trust is integrity. It's the external integrity. It's what you say to the world.
Mm-hmm.
As you get to know somebody, the know, like, trust is how do I get to know people? That's the marketing. That's the BS that's associated there.
Yep.
The trust, know, like, the concept of know is a different know.
Mm-hmm.
It's as I get to know someone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really know someone.
Right.
So the 4 values: intent, commitment to do the right thing. No, the right thing's by you. It's your lens.
Yeah.
It's being a servant leader.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a credible human, you're a servant leader. It's one of the most important aspects. And then it's integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I get to know somebody, integrity is their internal integrity.
Mm.
I want to give you a definition that you'll never be able to unhear this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those people, you have this intuition, the hair in the back of your neck stands up. You're like, there's something wrong. I'm talking to this person. There's something not right.
Yep.
I'm going to actually put words around that. It's simply the fact that there's a disconnect between their internal and external integrity.
Mm.
They're saying all the right words, but you know that there's no belief structure in their internal integrity. They don't believe in the things that they're saying, but they're still saying it.
Right.
And that's where intuition of there's something funny with this person.
Right.
That's where that intuition stems from.
Yes. Some of us, I think, from life experience, whatever, that's probably a whole other podcast, we're more attuned to that. We can pick it up real quick and our spidey senses start tingling. I love the language you put around it. That's very helpful. And I will say for others, it's not as innate to be able to pick up on that. So for someone that's like, man, I'm really bad at that. Like, I feel like I buy into a line of BS, which is what it feels like when you feel like you've been duped, right? This person is not in alignment. For those that don't have the spidey sense as well attuned, how can you spot that earlier?
You know, I'm not going to take a pass on this, but I'm going to give a different answer.
Okay.
For those who recognize that, hey, vulnerability, great. Coachability, maybe you can learn it, maybe you can't. There are just some things that people can't learn.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can learn is to surround yourself with the right people who you're asking advice of.
Yes.
If you look at how the younger generation works, they work in groups. They work together. If they're going to buy something, they're going to talk to their friends first. Hey, you just bought this. What did you think? How does it feel? My son, every night, he's on Discord playing games.
Mm-hmm. How old is your son?
26.
Okay.
So he's on Discord playing some, adult style game. But that group of people, he's been together with them for years.
Right.
Maybe even a decade. And subsequently, even if he's never seen them in person, that level of trust is so high.
Oh, yeah.
And so I mentioned before, I'm just deploying a new desktop. And I was in Costco and I saw this amazing desktop for $1,000. So I'm like, okay, I could do that. Duncan, what do you think?
Mm-hmm.
He goes, Dad, it's a steal. Buy it. He goes, during COVID, that graphics card I paid $2,500 for. He was talking to a couple of his friends and they go, oh my God, I might want to buy it just so I could pull out the graphics card and sell it. And it was just this immediate concept that they've seen it, they've done that, they've been there. And so if it's not you and you recognize it, make sure you surround yourself with people who can actually experience that disconnect, that spidey sense.
Yes, really good point. We don't have to be good at all the things. We just need to surround ourselves with the people that can pick up the slack where we have it, because we all have it. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to shift gears a little bit, Mitchell. Well, first of all, we need to talk again because we're going to run out of time and I feel like we just got started. But I have no doubt that you did not come out of the womb with all of this curiosity, maybe the curiosity, but not with the wisdom that you have gained through the curiosity about how humans function and credibility and all of these things. And I'm guessing that, again, sharing my assumption, I'm assuming that you probably didn't come by all of this learning the easy route. I'm thinking there probably have been some mistakes along the way that have shaped all of this interest that you have and the dive that you've taken into this level of expertise and credibility. So my question we ask every guest, we invite you into the confessional, is to share your story of a leadership misstep, mistake, learning opportunity, however you want to phrase it, all of the above. What was that you're willing to talk about? And how has it shaped the way that you lead today? What was the impact?
So my parents ended up getting divorced when I was 9.
Okay.
So there wasn't really a father figure in my life. And turns out that my mom's now third marriage was a guy who I absolutely highly respect. He's the one I would call dad. And he died during COVID of brain cancer. And I'm not sure why I brought that up, but
I'm sorry. I just lost my dad this year. So I am, yeah.
the only word you could say is that sucks and you'll always miss him.
Yep.
There's just things you think, oh yeah, and you name their name and that's what they would have done.
Yeah.
So what that meant is during my raised by a single mom, 3 kids, who instilled an incredibly valuable sort of feeling. You could do whatever you want. You can be whoever you want to be. You just need to put your mind to it. I guess your mind and your actions.
Mm-hmm.
I have to put that behind it. And my first sort of real male mentor was when I was in B school. There was a finance guy who I did a specific private project for. And it turned out I proved his theory. Not to go into detail, we'll just say there's a capital asset pricing model that people use for investment. He thought the semi-variance model, the 2-tier, would be the right way to do it. And I actually proved in a computer program, I think it was SAS, at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. I proved his theory right. I shared it with him, left it on his desk. 2 weeks later, I said, hey, I'm going to be writing this article and you're going to be my co-author. And he said, no, I'm not. I'm like, huh? He goes, I used your research. I got myself a job at Colonial Mutual Fund and you're coming with me. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's how I got there.
Okay.
What I learned, however, he was hedonistic and narcissistic. And that's how I was taught to be. And when I went to work for Sun Microsystems, I was there for 9 years. There were 2 occasions when I would focus on sort of the command and control world, which is kind of what that is all involved. And there were 2 times where my boss or my boss's boss said, hey, it's just too bad you weren't better with people. And you would probably be running this, running that, being here. And it turns out that many of the people who are in this department was an incubator for people who ended up being CEOs of different companies. So it would have been a different path. I'm very happy with the path I took. I never have regret. But what I will tell you is the person I trusted to teach me a lot of the rules. When I did my second TEDx, I came up with this phrase. I was only with him for a year. He was with me for 36.
God, yes. That's power. Yes.
And so it took me 36 years to shed. And by the way, the final lesson, I thought it was mostly done. It was only when I was prepping for my second TEDx that I realized the final lesson I hadn't learned. And that was forgiveness.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing it because he was malicious or mean. That was who he was. So I forgave him. And probably the most important person I forgave was me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Wow. That is a deep share. Thank you. And it is the year of the snake. So we all need to be shedding the things that have been holding us back, holding us down, forgiveness that needs to be given. Yes. Now, when you reflect on that, and I'm sure you could tell literal days worth of stories of operating under a boss who narcissism and hedonism was his default. How has that shaped you today? Is it as simple as, well, I wanted to figure out how to do everything not like that and get just the opposite? Or is it a little bit more nuanced than that?
I think it's more nuanced. What happens is we as humans, we write our own operating system. Mom instilled, hey, you can do whatever you want as long as you really put your mind and your actions into it. This other guy instilled a different operating system. And as I was shedding different aspects of that, I really needed to have a new OS. I didn't realize when I was doing the credibility research that is what I would have received. Right. So for those, we should put in the show notes, the TEDx I ended up doing is called We Are Losing Our Humanity. I'm tired of watching it happen.
I'm going to go look that up today. Okay.
And the simple aspect is if we did nothing more than act credible to each other, we'll be more humane to each other. And I just thought, hey, I have a secret formula. You guys need to know about that.
Right.
And so you asked me at the beginning of the conversation, you said, Mitchell, what does it mean to be a global credibility expert? So it means I can talk about it. I could see things. And what probably the biggest lesson I learned was clarity. I could sit with any human or any company and help them articulate where they're executing on their purpose in less than 10 words. Okay, that's really cool. Here's what's really interesting. Most companies are not saying, I want clarity and credibility. They either assume they have it or they assume they don't need it. And so the phrase that I'm now deploying in my life, now this is something that happened starting 2 months ago, is sell them what they want, deliver what they need. What I'm doing is a couple interesting things on the executive coaching side. What does every executive want? Well, they want abundance.
Yeah.
Okay. What do they actually get? Clarity and credibility.
Yep.
On the LinkedIn side, or actually on business owner side, what do they want to use? Well, they want to use the best tool to reach out to other people, but they don't want the marketing cookie cutter stuff. They want to do it effectively. So I work with those business owners. It's business owners using LinkedIn for a successful business. What are they actually getting? Clarity and credibility.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Man, we have more to talk about, but we are out of time. Can I just right now invite you back? Are you willing to come back and we can go?
Oh, you're too much fun. So we're going to talk. We'll have a private call and then we'll have another private call, but we turn on the microphone.
Okay. I think this is great. Mitchell, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for your articulation, your vulnerability. Appreciate deeply all of it. We're going to drop every link you mentioned into our show notes. Where can they find you? If people are like, I need to follow this guy. What's going on? Where's the best place to go?
The best place, and by the way, this is something that everyone should think about. Come up with one.
Yes.
That then points everywhere else. So my best one would be my website, mitchelllevy.com. That's 3 L's. So mitchellevy.com. So you could see what I'm doing, see where I'm focused, connect to me on LinkedIn if that's where you play. And most importantly, if you want to have that conversation, you can book time directly in my calendar by going there at mitchellevy.com.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate your clarity and your credibility. Thank you for being here today.
You're welcome. What a pleasure it was to spend time with you.
And listeners, you know the drill. Until next time, go manage like a leader.
Thanks for listening to Confessions of a Terrible Leader. If you're feeling brave and have your own terrible leader story that you'd like to share, head over to transcendleadershipcollective.com/podcast to fill out a guest application. We'd love to hear from you. Confessions of a Terrible Leader is hosted by Layci Nelson and produced and edited by Fixation Point Productions. Music is by Leif Olson and Mary Scott from the band The Number of Months. Confessions of a Terrible Leader is a free leadership resource offered by Transcend Leadership Collective. If you are ready to refuse the limits of average leadership and join the leadership revolution, visit transcendleadershipcollective.com to check out our offerings for engaging workshops, strategic planning, and more. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. And until next time, go manage like a leader.